Hello and welcome, everyone. On behalf of Amrita-Seattle, I'm thrilled to bring to you this evening our benefit concert, TaRaVa Taal Raga Vadya, by the world-renowned percussionist Maestro Bickram Ghosh and his signature band. My name is Indrajit Sur, and I will be your host for the evening. And it is my immense pleasure and honor to welcome Maestro Bickram Ghosh and his band tonight. Let me start off by sharing a little about Amrita-Seattle and the work that they are doing by making a difference in our community. Amrita-Seattle is a nonprofit based out of Seattle, Washington, that serves both globally and locally. It was founded by Dr. Sujit and Shampapal in 2010 and built on the slogan Live to Serve. And their mission? End generational poverty. Amrita-Seattle serves vulnerable children living in utmost rural isolated parts of India, ranging from the snow-capped Himalayas in Ladakh to the dense mangrove island forests of Sundarbans and other parts of rural Bengal. Amrita-Seattle provides children with a lifetime of support from elementary to employment by serving them with stable education, healthcare, advocacy, and support. From sending a child to school to providing them with access to daily tutorials and classroom supplies, healthy hot meals, building joyful reading spaces and learning centers, and to doctors' checkup, running health camps and wellness campaigns, Amrita-Seattle provides children with everything they need, every step of the way to not just survive, but truly thrive in their lives and thus making a difference. In addition to its work in rural India, Amrita-Seattle relentlessly for the last 11 years serves healthy hot meals to at-risk homeless youth and young adults in the King County area, at Teen Feed, Root Shelter, and various tent cities in and around the Puget Sound area. Their massive efforts for meal preparation in the COVID times earned them the COVID Hero Award. In 2020, Amrita-Seattle has served over 1,800 hot meals so far. With that, let me share with you Amrita-Seattle's relentless spirit of Live to Serve with a short video.
This is Stanza Nima. We met Nima when she was 8, the day her father came looking for help. He feared for her and the heavily abusive environment she was facing at her boarding school. Nima represents one of so many children who must endure a severe lack of parental care, who live without access to basic necessities and educational support, and are often led into lives of domestic labor. These children deserve everything that all children deserve in order to survive and thrive. 10 years ago, when Sujit and Shampapal founded Amrita-Seattle, they started small, trying to address a single aspect of this educational crisis in utmost rural India. Working within local schools, they distributed academic supplies and provided scholarships to a handful of vulnerable children living in the Himalayas and in the island of Sundarbans, West Bengal. Their commitment to selfless service and to transform a child's life gained trust and reputation in the community and began to expand. We established reading centers, implemented tutorials and meal programs, facilitated health camps, and led wellness campaigns. Our hard work produced results. Students achieved a 95% high school graduation rate, an 88% college graduation rate, and 100% employment placement. But beyond numbers, our biggest lesson learned was that education alone wasn't enough to help vulnerable children overcome the odds stacked against them. The gap in opportunity is too complex. Even when students have school supplies, many still struggle in the classroom, distracted by hunger, issues at home, and health. We realized that to truly change the trajectory of a child's life, we need to go deeper and focus on the child as a whole. So much of what we do at Amrita-Seattle goes beyond any metric. It's in the meals we have together, the doctor checkups, the study sessions, the psychosocial support, the road trips, the birthday celebrations. and so much more. We're providing something that every child in this world deserves: a childhood. Nima transitioned into our residential facility and a brand new school and began to receive the constant support, care, and love that all children should be receiving. It took time, but gradually she showed us her true confidence, her assuredness, and her great ability to make us all laugh.
Nima.
This is Nima today. Now she is thriving in middle school and aspires to become a veterinarian. That dream is now a possibility. When given everything they need to thrive, children can accomplish unprecedented success. Now is the time to build off of successes like Nima's. We present our bold new vision, the Amrita Center, a world-class facility that will contain the region's first early education center, state-of-the-art libraries and classrooms, computer labs, a counseling wing, a vocational training hub, an auditorium, a playground, and full boarding facilities. A place where kids want to grow up. Our promise is that in the next 5 years, we will have an Amrita Center operating in each of our sites and be taking on 300 children on an individualized pathway out of poverty. This is our key to ensuring that vulnerable children can exit generational poverty and become empowered. The Amrita Center will be a bold symbol of our deep commitment to the communities we serve and ultimately a bold vision in the development sector, an example for change makers around the world. Amrita-Seattle is built from the slogan, "Live to Serve." Will you join us?
That was truly inspirational. It is my pleasure and honor now to introduce to you Sharmila Pal, the current CEO of Amrita-Seattle, to share what the slogan "Live to Serve" means for her, and a few words about Amrita-Seattle.
Thank you all for being here this evening. Deeply grateful for your support for Amrita-Seattle. I, Sharmila Pal, am the current CEO of Amrita-Seattle since last spring. Before that, I was the program officer of Amrita-Seattle for 6 years and living in India most of the time at our project sites in Ladakh and Bengal. Before I got involved with Amrita-Seattle, my background had absolutely nothing to do with community development. My career was in chemistry and oceanography. Up through my high school and through my undergrad and grad school, I was a very box checker type of person. I was doing scientific research with world-renowned marine scientists, traveling on international oceanographic marine expeditions to the open ocean, sometimes for months at a time, collecting ocean water samples, working in a lab, doing research. I've spent 256 days at sea, and having been out to every single ocean with the world-renowned climate scientists and published in top-tier journals, and all that was great. But as I drew close to the completion of my dissertation, I felt that some piece was missing in the puzzle of life. I wanted to apply my skills to impact people, to make a difference. And yes, my research was focused on climate change, but it just felt so far removed from any concrete impact that I was doing. So upon graduation, I decided to take off and walk the Indian Himalayas solo to find life's meaning. And I crossed high Himalayan mountains, came across vast open valleys near the India-Tibet borders, lived in nomadic villages unknown to the rest of the world, and intimately saw the beauty of nature and the harsh realities of life. For it was amidst this fierce beauty and power that of the Himalayas and rural India that lay the vulnerability of people and children and communities due to severe lack of resources and basic necessities. I saw how people struggle to get the most basic of the basic resources that we take granted, and access to education and access to achieve your dreams and ambitions and aspirations. So it took a pursuit of 3 years for me to realize that selfless service is the meaning of life. So in 2014, I joined Amrita-Seattle, which my parents had started in 2010, to work with children living in utmost rural regions of Bengal. And I took that same work and spirit now to the Himalayas in Ladakh. And I'm proud to say that over the last 6 years, we have constructed children's libraries, joyful reading spaces, implemented high quality tutorials, nutrition programs, and facilitate multiple healthcare camps, wellness campaigns. We serve in places where at times the only access to villages is by trekking over 5,000-meter high mountain passes or crossing multiple rivers by dinghy boats or driving through the Himalayan wilderness for hours. No doubt the work is physically demanding and the need is endless. It is not a romantic life of saviorship. I think often what we see on media is a very oversimplified narrative of poverty, whereas in reality, it's true community development work is extremely raw, very difficult, it's emotionally taxing, and deeply human and organic. We serve children who come from at most vulnerable and marginalized backgrounds, who have faced abuse, alcoholism, dysfunctional parenthoods, poverty, forced labor, and live in some really harsh environments in some of the last frontiers of India. What works for one child doesn't work for the other. One might need extra tutorials in math while the other has severe psychosocial issues due to the abuse that they have faced. It is highly individualized, takes a lot of time, dedication, and sticking with the child every day of their life. It's what any parent would do. And that's what ultimately we're trying to do at Amrita-Seattle, is to give children a healthy and stable childhood so that they can grow up to be independent and empowered adults who have come out of generational poverty. True community development does not require any more big innovative ideas. I think it needs to go back. What it needs is to go back to basic child rearing practices and give disadvantaged kids, marginalized kids, the same dignity and care that you would give to your own children. And like I said before, the process of raising kids is extremely difficult. It's very raw. It's tough. It's emotionally challenging, and there's really no exit strategy. But it is in times like this that we remind ourselves of our slogan, which is live to serve. And that's what Amrita-Seattle is built upon. So thank you all for being here today. And I really hope you enjoyed the concert. Thank you.
Without further ado, I'm thrilled to present this evening's performance, TaRaVa, and a special Q&A session with Maestro Bickram Ghosh. TaRaVa Taal Raga Vadya is a show comprising Bickram Ghosh's scintillating percussions and body drumming, classical vocals, electric sitar, drums, and keyboard in a whirlwind show incredibly high in energy. Maestro Bickram Ghosh is one of India's greatest classical tabla players. He is revered globally for his dexterity on the tabla and also for being one of the pioneers of experimental fusion music. He's an extremely successful film director, having given background scores for over 36 feature films, one of which got him an Oscar contention. Ghosh is also known to experiment and reinterpret music and culture. He dabbles in a vast repertoire of musical genres, from classical, rock, new age, fusion to film music. Bickram Ghosh is also one of the most renowned names in the world of Indo-fusion music, having performed all over the world with the greatest names in classical music, especially Pandit Ravi Shankar, with whom he played for over a decade. Bickram went on to form his own band Rhythmscape. Ghosh also played on 4 albums that were nominated for Grammys, including George Harrison's Brainwashed. He played on Full Cycle with Pandit Ravi Shankar ji, which won a Grammy Award. Bickram's subsequent super successful solo albums like Beyond Rhythmscape, Folktale, Drum Invasion, Kingdom of Rhythm, Interface, Electroclassical, Transformation, etc. have consolidated his position as a pioneer of a new fusion sound. For the program today, we have with us Maestro Bickram Ghosh on tabla. Along with him will be Abhisek Mallick on sitar, Ambarish Das on vocals, Pulak Sarkar on keyboard, and Satyajit Mukherjee on drums. So get ready for a musical experience like no other, led by legendary percussionist Maestro Bickram Ghosh.
Namaskar. Welcome to Amrita-Seattle's Fall Benefit Concert. I'm Bickram Ghosh, and we are presenting the show TaRaVa today. TaRaVa stands for Taal, Raga and Vadya. With me on the stage are some of the finest musicians of India. On my extreme right is the brilliant drummer from Kolkata, Satyajit Mukherjee. On my right is the young wizard of the sitar. He is going to play the electric sitar today, and it goes through a processor, as you can see, giving him the benefit of a variety of tones. On the electric sitar with us is Abhisek Mallick. Extreme left is my musical brother for many, many years now. He has been with me. We have worked together over 20 years now. He's a fantastic composer, a wonderful arranger, and of course, a brilliant keyboard artist. With us, once again, is the wonderful Pulak Sarkar on the keyboards. And finally, on my left is an amazing singer. His voice is mellifluous, has an amazing connect to whoever listens to him. The brilliant Ambarish Das on vocals. Friends, we are living in challenging times, the era of COVID. Everybody around the world is affected. Artists are, so are especially the vulnerable population of the world. I'm hoping that we come out of this crisis soon. We dedicate this concert to all the work being done in these difficult times by those who are working day and night to fight this pandemic. Amrita-Seattle has been working with vulnerable children in the utmost rural parts of India for a long time now, and they are there for these children for this lifetime. Extremely noble work, very effective work, and I congratulate Amrita-Seattle on this amazing work, which is all the more important in these difficult times. From sending children to school, from giving them education, help in every which way, Amrita-Seattle continues the work with children. It is not just important to live, but it is important to thrive. And that is what they are helping these children to do with their lives. Please join me in supporting Amrita-Seattle in their endeavor with a life to serve. Friends, we begin this concert with one of our very popular pieces, and it is called Little Krishna. Little Krishna is set loosely to the raga Kalavati, and it has an upbeat energy, which I hope percolates into you as well, watching from wherever you are. We start with Little Krishna.
ah, 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 ah,
The next piece is called The Trapeze. This is a brand new piece composed especially for this concert. It is set to the Indian raga Malkans. The reason we call it the trapeze is it is a very interdependent piece. It is difficult rhythmically, and each one of us has to hold his fort for the others to do the act perfectly. The Trapeze Rag Malkans. The next piece is again a brand new number. It is called Yara. This is a beautiful song that Ambarish is going to sing, and we are going to weave a tapestry of sound around it. Yara is the next number.
यारा सजना तुझ बिन सोना, यारा सजना तुझ बिन सोना, यारा सजना तुझ बिन सोना, मन का गन जीवन रे, मन का गन जीवन रे, यारा यारा सजना तुझ बिन सोना, यारा सजना तुझ बिन सोना, मन का गन जीवन यारा सजना तुझ बिन सोना, यारा यारा सजना तुझ बिन सोना, यारा यारा सजना तुझ बिन सोना, यारा सजना तुझ बिन सोना, मन का गन जीवन रे, मन का गन जीवन रे, यारा सजना तुझ बिन सोना, यारा सजना तुझ बिन सोना, यारा सजना यारा सजना यारा सजना। यारा सजना तुझ बिन सोना, यारा सजना तुझ बिन सोना, मन का आंगन तुझे बन दे, मन का आंगन तुझे बन दे। पंडरे दबा मत बमा गमा गमा मत बमा गमा बमा गमा गमा, यारा सजना सरे रे 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 दबा मत बमा गमा गमा मत बमा गमा बमा गमा गमा, यारा सजना तुझ बिन सोना, यारा
Friends, the next piece is a beautiful thumri from the tradition of Patiala Gharana, which I have a special connect with because my mother, the well-known vocalist Srimati Sanjukta Ghosh, learned from Ustad Munawar Ali Khan Sahab, the son of the great Bade Ghulam Ali Khan Sahab. This thumri is a famous thumri from that tradition. Of course, we present it in the new age sound that we develop around it. The thumri is Barsana Lagi. बरसन लागे बरसन लागी सावन बूंदिया राजा बरसन लागी सावन बूंदिया राजा तुर बिन लागला मोरा जिया
बरसन लागे सावन बुंदिया राजा बरसन लागे सावन बुंदिया राजा तुर बिन लागे मोरा जिया लागे सावन बुंदिया राजा तुर बिन लागे मोरा
The next piece is the drum jam. Friends, I'm sure you've heard of drum and bass, and I can bet you've never heard or seen of drum and face. Should we try that? Well, Amrita-Seattle, just to say that my heart beats for you. Friends, for the last number, we have a tribute, and the tribute is for my Guruji, Pandit Ravi Shankarji. It is his 100th birth anniversary, and no concert is complete without a tribute to him, who actually paved the way for Indian musicians to the rest of the world. The incredible work that he did is the reason why so many generations of musicians are able to make careers, are able to travel the globe, and for the very fact that Indian classical music is recognized so widely. This piece was composed for the 1971 album called Bangladesh, which Guruji composed specifically for the scenario that was then. It's a beautiful piece, very folk in its roots, Bengal driven, but we are going to combine this beautiful melody of his with a tumri, which Ambarish is going to sing, and let's see what happens. This is the last piece of the concert, and thank you for being such a wonderful audience. This piece was composed for the album Concert for Bangladesh in 1971.
Pani sa re 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 pa ga ma ga
Thank you, friends. I'd like to announce the artists with me one more time. On the drums, the brilliant Satyajit Mukherjee. On the electric sitar, the wonderful Abhisek Mallick. On the keyboards, the fantastic Pulak Sarkar. And the mellifluous Ambarish Das on vocals. Thank you. That was TaRaVa. God bless. And again, my best wishes for the great work that Amrita-Seattle is doing. Namaskar.
Wow, that was absolutely exhilarating to watch. Truly one of a kind. I would like to thank everyone for their contribution so far. If you haven't had an opportunity to donate yet, please do so using the link that we have provided. If you are eligible for corporate matching, we encourage you to match your gift amount so that you can double your impact. Thank you once again for supporting Amrita-Seattle in any capacity. Microsoft employees can donate specifically at the internal link that we have provided that automatically matches your donation. So, I would highly encourage you to take advantage of that. All non-Microsoft employees can donate at bit.ly/live-to-serve2020. That is also a link that we have provided. Once again, if you are eligible for corporate matching, please match your gift amount so that you can double your impact for Amrita-Seattle's life-saving work. Up next, we have a short Q&A session with Maestro Bickram Ghosh. I'm really looking forward to asking him some questions about his influences and his perspective about percussions and experimental fusion music. So stay on. Thank you once again, Panditji. We are really honored to have you today with us. Thank you for taking the time to join us all the way from Kolkata. As part of the Q&A, we have curated a few questions for you that we would like to hear. We are super excited to hear about it. So how about we get started? So
absolutely.
As a tabla and rhythm maestro, when you hear the words Taal, Raga, Vadya, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, the first thing that ever came to my mind as a child was the first word, Taal. For obvious reasons, because my father being the great doyen of the Tabla, Pandit Shankar Ghosh, and my guru, Taal was all around me. It was a veritable chakra view. So, in fact, my father, at some point when I had grown up, he actually said to me that I used to create a chakra view around you. What did he do? He used to actually, when I was a child, I hadn't even begun to crawl, maybe just little crawling. He would surround me in a circle with tablas. He would put me in the middle. So I couldn't escape. So what I would inevitably do is I would go and strike one of the instruments. And he believed that if I did that multiple times, I would get attracted to the instrument and I would become a tabla player. So Taal, the importance of Taal in my life cannot be overestimated. It is all around me. It is a lifestyle. I believe that it begins from the heartbeat and stretches out into the universe, into as far as you can imagine. Everything is set to motion, Taal, into time cycles. Where Raga is concerned, Raga too has been very, very important in my life because of my mother. My mother is the renowned singer Sanjukta Ghosh, and because she was learning from Munawar Ali Khan Sahab when I was growing up. Munawar Ali Khan Sahab is the great doyen of Patiala Gharana, who was the son of Bade Ghulam Ali Khan Sahab. So I used to actually go every day after school. I used to walk down from my school, Lamartne for Boys in Calcutta. I used to walk down from there and go to Balu Haqqaq Lane and enter this completely different world, which was different from my school. And as I would go up the steps, I would hear the strains of Patiala bandishes, and Khan Sahab would be practicing or teaching. And I would spend the time till early evening there every day. And then I would come home with my mother. So a lot of my influences of melodies in my later years when I started working as a composer are said to be Patiala Gharana-ish. There is a flavor of Patiala, which is a fact because I grew up listening to that absolutely gorgeous music. Finally is Vadya. Vadya is what I do. I play an instrument which is a Vadya. Anything that you play is called Vadya. So I am a percussionist. I am a Tabla player. I have played Tabla all my life, and I continue to do so. And that is the one most important thing that my life entails, really. So there you are. My entire life is there on those three letters, TaRaVa.
Wow, awesome. What a great articulation of these three words. I mean, you have definitely created a new meaning for me, definitely. So moving on to the next question, and this is something that I'm really, keen to hear your perspective. So what has been the journey of Indian classical instrumental music? I mean, especially, percussions in the last decade, in India as well as globally. I mean, the world is opening up. We are exposed to, music all around the world. So I would really like to understand your perspective on that.
Absolutely. That is actually a very, very relevant question. That's a very good question. Let us move into flashback. First, let me touch upon the trajectory of percussion, which is primarily tabla in my case. So the trajectory of tabla is very, very important, A, sonically, and B, historically. Actually, there's a third component, that is socially. So sonically, if you look at this two-piece, very unassuming looking drum, nobody imagined, or even sometimes I face it even now, can imagine that this drum can be such a monster. It is a monster drum. It is one of the greatest drums in the world. And whoever I have interacted all my life over the last 35 years of my career with percussionists across the globe, from Israel to Australia to America to what have you, anywhere, Africa, everybody is blown away by the tabla. Why so? Because look at the sonic area of it. Here is a two-piece drum. The right hand is a staccato drum. Okay, and it is tuned to a tonic. So you have a melody. So whatever your sa is of the instrument that is being played with, or if there's an accompanying instrument with the tabla, or if there's a vocal, so you tune it to that particular pitch. So it could be C sharp, D, E, B, whatever, which is quite rare in percussion instruments. You do not find many percussion instruments which you tune to a pitch. So that's the right hand. The left hand has a completely different A, role, and B, technique. So how many instruments do you see which have such diverse techniques? So one hand is like this, the other hand is like this. There is no similarity between the two. So, and the drums are so different. So the left hand sonically is the modulatory drum. It is not just a staccato drum, it is modulatory. So you can actually play notes in that drum and you can express. So if you want to express language, you can imitate the modulation of language. Kridhati dhage na dha. You can do the dhum, you can do that. So it makes this drum have immense possibilities. So sonically, it is incredible. It's very, very important and very rare. Historically, if you look at tabla or percussion, percussion has been mostly associated with celebration. If you look at the history of drumming, but it is also associated with war cries. In some cultures, it is also associated with sorrow and death. So there is a certain kind of drumming which is done almost like a dirge. So you have within your social infrastructure, you have a place for drumming everywhere. So that is why historically drumming has become extremely important in our lives. And I believe one of the most important things is the fact that we all are alive because of a heartbeat. We don't call it a heart sur, or a heart note, or a heart melody. No, we call it a heartbeat. So you are alive because of a heartbeat. And if the beat goes amiss, then you're sick. And if you don't have a beat, you know what that means.
I know.
So third is socially, which is very, very important. Drumming was always, at least in India and in some other cultures also, it was always relegated to the background. So the drummer was kind of the side guy. So the drummer was either behind or sitting on the side. And in Indian cultures, at one point, even the tabla players and the drummers were not allowed to sit and play. They would be standing with a kamarband and the tabla tied on their waist. They weren't allowed to sit. So there was a lot of kind of social, social bias, I would say, towards drumming. It was called, skin instruments and that kind of stuff, which is just a little lower in the order of things. Vocal is on the top, string instruments next, then skin instruments are lower down the order. So this hierarchy was there. But historically, if that was there, today, in my opinion, it has almost been flipped around, because the drummer has become really important in the scheme of things. In lifestyle, you see the drums and beats taking a lot of center stage. So I have always strived to see that the tabla as a drum takes as much center stage as possible. But of course, when I'm accompanying an instrumentalist from the classical tradition, I wouldn't do that, because that is not the role it plays. So every role is important. Even if you're playing an accompaniment role, that is important, but it must also take center stage.
Yeah.
So these are the most important things, the trajectories of the percussion side of things.
Yeah,
Instrumentally, I'll just have a quick word on the instrumental part of it, because the string instruments, there was an exodus of Indian artists to the West after the great Pandit Ravi Shankarji, who was also my Guruji, made the sitar like the emblem of India. So there was an exodus, and even today there's a huge amount of people going from India to the West, and the Westerners coming to India, learning instruments from India. So I think that period with Ali Akbar Khan Sahab and Ravi Shankarji, Taal Raga Khan Sahab, my father on this side so they were all Pandit Shankar Ghosh. All of them were actually creating a niche for Indian instrumental music in the West, which is still very, very important. If you look at all the big awards, the Grammys and all of this, primarily it's the Indian classical musicians who have done that. So, and primarily they are the instrumentalists.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers your question.
I think, that's a great response. I mean, you are also no stranger to the Grammys anyways. I mean, I think for the viewers who are watching the program, and you have been nominated for
I have played on 4 Grammy awarded nominated albums, and one which was awarded. I've played on that. With Pandit Ravi Shankar, Full Circle, and I also played on George Harrison's Brainwashed, which was nominated for the Grammy.
Yeah. And then I think you talked about bringing the drums at the forefront. I think these days, you are one of the pioneers of experimental fusion music. I mean, one of the things that, I want you to sort of, share with our audience, what is actually experimental fusion music, especially for, let's say, a person who is not as in depth in terms of music, if you can share what experimental fusion music means, and what has been some of your greatest musical experiments that you have done by leveraging that.
Thank you. Again, a very good question. What is experimental fusion music? Okay, so nothing in this world is new. Everything has been done. Let us not live under the illusion that I am the person who started something, or so-and-so was the person who started something. We are all discoverers. We are not inventors. We discovered. So sound was there. We tapped into it. We exploited sound. That is the way I see it. For me, on my personal trajectory, I had been exposed from my childhood to a variety of cultures, very, very interesting, myriad kind of cultures. So my life has been like that. And especially traveling with Pandit Ravi Shankarji over the years, I had seen so much of the world that a lot of sounds had entered my mental firmament. And I started feeling that something can be done with, of course, Indian classical at the center and tabla in the center, but something can be done around it, which could cater to a larger kind of canvas of people and make it more friendly to uninitiated ears, and maybe then draw them, wean them towards Indian classical music. So that's how I began my first project, which is still my most important project, Rhythmscape, which was an album first, which came out in the year 2001, and has literally been choreographed and heard and listened across the globe like I never imagined that it would happen, on that scale. So that was a project where I put Indian classical music in the center, but I took the elements from the classical kind of repertoire, and I put rhythmic grooves around it, so that there are no dull moments or there are no fall moments, because I wanted my friends from my school or my college to come and listen to this. Many of them used to feel a little intimidated by classical music. Oh, we don't understand. Maybe we'll nod in the wrong point. We'll clap in the wrong point, and somebody will say, "Nahi, ye sahi nahi hai," So those fears were there. So I wanted them to be fearless when they came to hear my show. And I also thought that we needed a really low sub element in the show to make it kind of more popular, achieve a popular space. So I introduced the Hansonic, those days the HPD 15, which I use a particular tone called the SH101 bass guitar tone on my left hand. So I swap between the baya of the tabla and the Hansonic, which gives a really nice sub low end. So it immediately attracts people, the younger audiences especially. Yeah. And then you weave a kind of a flowing river kind of thing where cultures are meshing one with another. You have a drummer playing something, the guitar playing, maybe a sitar playing, and everything is almost holistic. It is not broken into compartments. So the expert fusion exponent will always know how to make the bridges. The bridges are the most important. So that is the hallmark of aesthetics of the artist. Fusion music can be terrible and can be fantastic, because if you do it wrong, for Bengalis, you're mixing Ilish Mach with Rasgulla, and if you do it right, then you can really touch pretty much anybody's heart and soul across the globe. So that's my take on experimental. It's still a new genre, but of course, even in Bollywood, people have done it. I mean, there was O.P. Nair in the 50s, there was Pancham Dat. So many of them were doing fusion, Western East and all of that. Yeah. But I have a particular kind of sound which derives from Indian classical and is very hands-on. It's very ethnic based. So sometimes some of the work I do, I also categorize it as ethno-pop. Yeah. So like this song which is just released and as a super hit, Genda Phool, which I did a take on, which is ethno-pop. But my always tablas in the center. My vision is that put this instrument there and take it out as divergent as possible.
Yeah. I think you talked about two really important points, which is like, meeting the listener to where they are in their musical journeys without any
Yes.
intimidation. And you talked about, Bollywood music. I mean, you've also given, background scores to many film musics. But I want to shift gears and then you really get your, thoughts on, TaRaVa. I mean, that's the signature band. I want to, really know, how it was formed, how did it come together? So if you can share a few things about TaRaVa, I think, the users would.
Right. So TaRaVa is what one is presenting for you, and TaRaVa is a newer vertical from my repertoire. It, as it says, the crux is Taal Raga Vadya. So that is there. Vocals come in the raga part also. What is, I feel the reason I made a separate vertical was there are a lot of pieces, a lot of instrumental pieces which are associated with the original band Rhythmscape. And I felt that I wanted to make some more pieces which reflected a different energy. The energy of, like, for example, there are certain ragas which are not often performed. But even, I mean, especially in the fusion kind of scenario, people stick to certain kind of ragas. I mean, you'll find that not too much out of the beat ragas are used. So in TaRaVa, I use, for example, there's a piece in Madhuvanti, which is a beautiful rag. It's an afternoon rag. And one doesn't really use that or hear it much also. But there's a part of me which wants to take these rare things and make them mainstream. That's what I do. I like to do that because I think, we lose perspective of a lot of beautiful things in our culture because we label them. We say, oh, this is a little esoteric. This is a little, maybe not everybody will get it. No, I have done many film songs in rare ragas, which are not often heard. So a Shri, for example, I mean, how many people hear, but I have famous even instrumental themes for films, which are in Shri, in Madhuvanti, in Jog. So in TaRaVa, I am bringing to the table certain rare, either rhythmic structures or raga structures. So that is something I feel it needed a different nomenclature. Because Rhythmscape has a certain sound, has a certain, you relate, oh, there's this piece is Rhythmscape, that is it. So, but in TaRaVa, you can hear certain very subtle things if you want to listen for it. But those who don't want to listen for it, those who just want to groove, they just want to enjoy the jhol of it, that's just as much there for them, But if you are listening as a discerning listener, then in TaRaVa, you will get a lot of subtle elements, which I think more and more I like to do nowadays. As I progress in my own career, I want to bring little gems into the picture. So that's why TaRaVa is the new vertical, and that's why I gave it a very precise name. Taal Raga Vadya, TaRaVa. Sounds nice also. It's got this nice ring to it, TaRaVa. Wow, what is that? Is that a flying carpet or what? So that's what we are bringing for you.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I wish we could, continue this Q&A, but, I'm going to close this with one final question. And this is something that, we are all impacted by, right? The COVID-19 is impacting us, the artists, in India. Can you talk about a little bit about the challenges that, musicians and artists are facing in India and how we could sort of, use some of these forums to bridge that gap, to sort of, still, create experiences like these that will still make people feel that they're experiencing and feeling the music. So if you can share a little bit about, what you guys are feeling as musicians, I think that would be really, really good for us to understand.
Right. So, of course, COVID-19 is a phenomenon which is completely unprecedented. Nobody had a clue which way to go, which way to look, what to do in any profession whatsoever. So music, the period started out with music becoming the least relevant thing. It was like, I mean, seriously, people are dying, people need to live. How do you find, how do you get to the supermarket? How do you get yourself food? How do you survive? Survival questions were top on the list. But interestingly, through this period, one has realized that music has become extremely important. Everybody has shifted to streaming and listening to streamed songs, creating concerts on through videos and Zoom and all kinds of things. And people are really innovated in an amazing way. So including what we are doing right now is pretty much out of the box and pretty high end, what you're going to see in terms of the delivery of it. So I think we are very creative as a species, and we are able to readjust. But there is a strata of the musician society who have really had it hard, who've been hit very, very hard. We are the lucky lot. We are the people who are known. People want to do work with you, even during this kind of a period that happens. But those who are, say, for example, teachers only in a village, teaching singing or flute or tabla or sitar, those who are cine musicians, then the movie industry is shut down literally. So how do you survive this period? So a lot of people, including us, we have tried to raise funds and all of that through concerts, through just personal contributions. But it's never enough, because there are thousands of artists there, and wonderful artists who really were shocked into this kind of survival scenario.
Yeah.
So I would say that, everybody should try to encompass everybody into this, not just a select few. So if we can do broader work, touching the villages, if they can create projects during social distancing, if they can create projects, folk projects or something, from a village, and give it to us and give it to you, you can then showcase it. I can then produce it for them. So that these are the lines on which I think, we can help them survive. So, and of course they must survive with their dignity. They cannot be you can't keep giving them money and saying, and then their morale is destroyed. No, we are artists at the end of the day. So I think that's the way forward. And a lot of people are doing good work, of course. But yeah, let's just hope that the pandemic ends really quick and the musicians and everybody else is sorted.
Yeah, I think that is a great perspective. I think, we are all sort of feeling the same, but, like you mentioned, we are probably fortunate and lucky to be in a situation where we are. I think we should definitely look out for people, where we can sort of lend our hand and provide that, support and platform to these people who are, not in the limelight. So thank you once again for the time. And, I wish we could go on. This was, a history lesson, as well as, an understanding of, how you're thinking about music and, what is your perspective. So one final question that I have is, Tabla has an amazing language, the way it speaks to the listeners. Can you describe that language, as a tabla player, as a percussionist?
Well, the tabla tradition is unique in the fact that it is one of the very few traditions in the world which has a full-blown language of tabla. So you actually speak what you play and you play what you speak. The entire language of tabla is onomatopic. The sound echoes the sense. So there are words in the English language which don't have any meaning, but they have a sound which echoes the sense. So he was walking down the road and he fell down with a thud. Thud is not doesn't have any meaning on its own. The pistol shot off with a bang. So these are imitative of the sounds that they actually create. So similarly, the whole Guru Shishya Parampara is based on the Guru speaking the bowl and the student playing it, reproducing it on the tabla. So the Guru will say, "Bajao beta dhati dhage na tu na ke na," and the person will play dhati dhage na tu na ke na on the tabla. So this is very, I find this language really beautiful and very, very expressive. So you can express a lot of emotions. You can say, oh, I love nature. And you could say, "Kridhati dhage na tha." Or you could say, oh my God, the traffic is terrible. And you could say, "Kridhati dhage na tha." Express anger, love, emotions through the Tabla language. So to leave you with an example, I'm going to read one little, I'm going to speak one little bowl, which is which I really like. And it's my father's composition. It's a tukra and has a lot of dynamics. So see how it sounds even when I speak it. It goes like this. So you had the whole gamut of human emotions in that tukra. Thank you.
With that, we will close the Q&A session. Thank you. Once again, I would like to thank you all for coming out today and supporting Amrita-Seattle and its undying spirit of Live to Serve. If you haven't had an opportunity to make a donation yet and you wish to do so, please use the link that we have provided to make your donation. We are going to close out today with a video about Amrita-Seattle's mission and the work they are doing called Live to Serve. We encourage you to watch it to see the impact that they are having in our community all around. Once again, I encourage you, if you wish to donate to Amrita-Seattle and support their relentless efforts to serve vulnerable children and communities in these truly challenging times. There is no deadline to make a donation. You can donate it anytime now or after the concert. If you are eligible for corporate matching, we encourage you to match your gift amount so that you can double your impact. For Microsoft employees, we have provided a link that allows you to directly donate and get your donations matched. So once again, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for coming out today. I hope everyone is safe and healthy wherever they are right now. Thank you very much for coming and supporting Amrita-Seattle. Thank you.
A great river always begins somewhere. Often it starts as a tiny spring in the mountains and then joins hands with other tributaries to grow as it finally plunges into the sea. So, when people ask me why Amrita, the essential answer is that we reacted to a set of problems by focusing on what could be done. As it turned out, the idea sprang from my roots, merged with many other sources of knowledge and action to form a confluence that grew bigger than I would ever have imagined. Amrita-Seattle breaks the cycle of poverty by creating pathways for vulnerable children living in some of the most isolated rural regions of India and Nepal. Our modules of education, healthcare, and advocacy guides children from elementary to employment. We work in the island villages that are tucked deep within the Sundarbans mangrove forests in West Bengal and in remote isolated Himalayan villages in Ladakh and Nepal. We refuse to leave no children behind. In rural isolated India, due to poor infrastructure and abysmal resources, families very often have to give away one or more child to a well-off family in the cities. The child lives with a foster family and serves as a labor and is completely dependent on them. School takes a low priority and they remain as a source of cheap labor for the rest of their life, unable to become self-reliant and break the cycle of poverty.
Our impact model drives deep into the communities we work with. We focus on the number of lives changed and relationships built versus the number of children reached. I cannot change a population of 1.3 billion, but together we can create a model solution that can be a blueprint for rural community transformation. Thank you so much for your support.